You know that feeling. The dinner ended hours ago. The people were kind. The conversation was good. You even laughed, really laughed. And now it's the next morning, and you feel like something inside you has been quietly emptied out. Not sad, not exactly tired, just hollow, slow, a little raw around the edges, like your body is still processing something your mind can't quite name. This is what an emotional hangover feels like. And if you're an INFJ, you probably know it well. It's not that you didn't want to be there. It's not that you don't love the people. It's that something happened inside you while you were with them. Something invisible, something layered. And now your system is asking for time. It doesn't always know how to explain. There's a name for what's happening, or at least a way to understand it. And once you have the language, the exhaustion stops feeling like a personal failure. It starts feeling like something coherent, something that makes sense. The psychologist Elaine Aron, who coined the term highly sensitive person in the 1990s, spent decades studying a trait she called sensory processing sensitivity. Around 15 to 20% of people have it. Their nervous systems take in more information from the environment, more sound, more light, more subtle shifts in facial expression, more of the emotional undercurrent in a room. And they process that information more deeply than others do. Not more emotionally, more deeply. That's the distinction Aron kept returning to. It's not that highly sensitive people feel more feelings. It's that they take everything in with more layers of meaning, more associations, more context. Most INFJs score high on this trait. Not all, but most. And when you combine that depth of processing with the INFJ's natural tendency to read between the lines, to sense what people aren't saying, to pick up on the mood of the room the moment they walk in, you get someone whose social experience is fundamentally different from the person sitting next to them at the same table. You weren't just at dinner. You were reading 8 faces. You were noticing when someone's smile didn't reach their eyes. You were tracking the tension between 2 people at the other end of the table that no one else seemed to see. You were choosing every word carefully, wondering how it would land. You were feeling the loneliness in someone's voice when they described their week and adjusting your response to meet it. That's a lot of work. Beautiful work in many ways, but work. Here's where it gets deeper, because it's not just the intake, it's what happens after. When most people leave a social event, their nervous system starts to settle. The stimulation ends, and their body returns to baseline within an hour or 2. For an INFJ, the conversation doesn't stop when the conversation stops. Your mind keeps replaying it, not obsessively, just thoroughly. You revisit the moments that felt off. You wonder if you said the right thing. You remember something someone mentioned in passing and quietly worry about them. You process the emotional undertones you absorbed but didn't have time to sort through in the moment. This is your introverted intuition doing what it does. And it doesn't turn off. It keeps working long after the input has ended, searching for the pattern, the meaning, the deeper thread. And while it's doing that, your body is still holding all the emotional residue you picked up from other people, because that's the other piece. You didn't just observe emotion, you absorbed it. Daniel Batson, a social psychologist who spent his career researching empathy, made a distinction that changed the way we understand this. He described what he called affective empathy, the automatic simulation of another person's emotional state inside your own body. It's not something you decide to do. It happens beneath awareness. When you're with someone who's anxious, a subtle version of their anxiety runs through your nervous system. When you're with someone who's grieving, something in you grieves too, even if you're smiling and passing them the bread. For most people, the simulation is faint, a whisper for INFJs, and for highly sensitive people, it's louder, fuller, harder to shake. So by the time you leave, you're not carrying just your own emotional state, you're carrying pieces of everyone else's too. And this is why the hangover happens the next day and not always the night of, because your system is still metabolizing, still sorting, still separating what was yours from what wasn't, still deciding what to keep and what to release. Stephen Porges, who developed polyvagal theory, would describe this as your nervous system slowly returning to a state of safety after prolonged social engagement. The vagus nerve, the long nerve that runs from your brainstem through your chest and abdomen, is deeply involved in social connection. It's active the entire time you're reading faces, modulating your voice, staying attuned to others. And that kind of sustained attunement is metabolically expensive. It uses real energy. When it's over, your body needs time to downshift. For an INFJ, that downshift can take a full day, sometimes two. So here's what's really happening when you feel emotionally hungover. You gave a lot of yourself quietly without anyone noticing. You held space that no one asked you to hold. You processed emotions that weren't originally yours. Your intuition kept working after everyone else had gone to bed. Your nervous system stayed engaged long after the last goodbye. And now in the soft light of the next morning, your body is asking for something simple: silence, slowness, solitude, a version of the world with fewer signals coming in. That's not weakness. That's not being bad at people. That's not a sign that you need to toughen up or become more social or push through. That's your system doing exactly what it's built to do and asking gently for what it needs to recover. The problem isn't the hangover. The problem is what we tell ourselves about it. That we're too much, that we're too sensitive, that everyone else can bounce back, so why can't we? That we should be able to enjoy a dinner without paying for it the next day. But you did enjoy it. That's the thing. You were fully there. You gave people your real attention, your real warmth, your real presence. And the cost of that kind of presence is real too. You don't need to feel guilty for needing the morning after. You don't need to apologize for taking the day slow. You don't need to explain to anyone why you're not answering messages until the afternoon. Your system works the way it does, and it doesn't need fixing. It needs honoring. Honor the rhythm. Give yourself the quiet morning without earning it. Let the emotional hangover be information, not a verdict. Let it tell you what your body has been through, and let it guide how you plan the next week. Some INFJs learn to build a soft day after any social event, not a productive day, not a recovery-focused day, just a slow one. Tea, a book, a walk, nothing that asks anything of them. That's not laziness, that's design. You are someone who takes people in fully. That's rare, and it's precious, and it costs something. The cost isn't a flaw in the design. It's part of what makes the depth possible. So the next time you wake up hollow after an evening that was by every visible measure. Good. Remember what your system did while no one was watching. Remember the 8 faces you read. Remember the emotions you carried home that weren't yours. Remember the intuition that kept working through the night. And give yourself the morning without shame, without rushing, without apology. If this gave you language for something you've been feeling for a long time, you might feel at home here. This is a quiet place for deep minds. Take the slow morning. You've earned it.